Right,
the
you're saying
grounding
if you
for the
don't
uniformity of
know,
nature, without just begging the question and saying, well, nature's just uniform because we can just do science. I go, that's the very point in contention. Why is nature uniform? Is it? Or can it just change flippantly, as you said?
well,
Is that a real possibility for it?
it depends if you believe in miracles.
Well, you're the one to start it off with the probabilistic argument to start with. I don't know if you just did that
Well,
for that argument or if it really holds
that's
across all lines.
that's my justification for why I don't believe. And that's
Yeah,
I
only
mean, I
that
just
extreme, right? What's
but
that?
I also just didn't find that there was good evidence for to warrant my belief either.
Yeah. Well,
So
once again,
it's not only
how do
evidence
you know evidence
from
can
the
be
world around
consistent
me and
across
other
over
religions.
over the passage of time and
Matt,
continuity?
I'm gonna have to just ask you again politely to please allow me to finish my sentences. Even if you're really just
Well,
chomping at the bit to jump on something I said, I would please politely ask you to allow me to
that's
finish my
fine.
statements. Thank you.
Fine. Okay. Is that it?
Oh, I just want to uh, get that out there again.
That's fine. So even within that very statement you make, when you're using evidence and you're assuming evidence over time, right?
Yeah.
Over the passage of time, okay. You want continuity of evidence, and evidence here is not really the same here, but you can draw conclusions from things that if you were in a court case or something like that, and people bring in evidence like, well, that happened a long time ago. That has nothing, no relevance to what's happening now. You correlate once again. So even the thing we brought up, and then you just happen to bring up evidence, and these two correlate on a philosophical level. That if within uniformity of nature, how can you have you rationalizing about evidence and even scientific inquiry, which already presuppose uniformity of nature of physical constructs going on in the world all around us, outside of our own natures, and it operates in a uniform fashion? How do you account for that?
Well,
Could it radically change, as you said? Well, given certain conditions, yeah, gravity,
it's
would cease if the
conceivable.
Earth was destroyed by a meteor or something like that. And you say, yep, then that's when gravity stopped on planet Earth, because planet Earth doesn't exist, so it didn't
Right.
really
Well,
stop on planet Earth.
yeah, gravity. When we say gravity, we mean gravity from the planet Earth. So if the Earth is destroyed, then of course we wouldn't have gravity any longer, as we call it. But gravity,
From
elsewhere
planet
would
Earth.
still exist, and according to the
Mm-hmm.
physical laws,
Right.
it would have that strength and this kind of thing.
Do you believe that gravity exists all across all time and space?
I have no reason not to.
Well, that wasn't the question.
Well, yeah, it's my way of saying yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So has that empirically been identified?
No.
Okay. So once again, this is just something to reflect upon. People are believing things
Well, we don't have
without
access.
the
It's just
without
something that's not possible to empirically verify, and there are plenty of those kinds of things because we don't have access to all of time and
right.
space.
Right. So shouldn't people believe? At least a consistent empiricist is not going to believe things until they have the evidence of it. But if you're going to ask for evidence in totality, then you got to give the evidence in totality, not
Right, but
just, well, we've observed this on this planet, this planet, this planet, this planet, and then you make the haphazard leap of generalize, or the logical leap, illogical leap of generalizing it. Really, from that standpoint, you're not allowed to
that
do
the
that.
whole is like the part, sure. But
Oh yeah, yeah,
but
yeah. Right.
I think
Exactly.
you could
Mm-hmm.
probabilistically make that statement. You wouldn't necessarily say that gravity is going to be existent
Yeah,
wherever it would conform to our
but it's
understanding of the things which cause gravity.
but it's still in question. If it's probabilistic, it ain't 100% certain. You can't make any
Right, and
claim to
it's
certainty. Therefore,
probabilistically
it's
certain.
valid, and it's valid for someone like me to go, so what? I can critique that to the hilt, and you're going to go, no, it's certain, it's really probabilistic, but we want to claim, really high degree of certainty on it. Well, it can be as high as you want it to be. It ain't 100%. It ain't certain. It ain't meeting the empirical standards. Because you notice the logical fallacy with that leap. I mean,
Well,
you pointed it out.
I don't think that that
Parsons
it's a
name as a whole.
problem
I
not
mean,
to have not to have absolute certainty. I don't see that as a problem because I don't see absolute certainty as something which is feasible to a large extent or to any reasonable extent.
Yeah, I'll be a little side-ish on you. Are you certain about that? You're not very certain about that. Well, okay, then that refutes your own argument because
Well, no,
that,
that's a
that was
working
supposed to be a retort.
right.
No, are you really certain about that? Because we both know what certain means, and you know what it means. You just deny it.
Well, you could
That's
say,
fine.
"Are you certain that that's what you just said, or are you certain that you believe that?" And then someone would say,
About yeah, I said about that,
"Yes."
not what you
But the
said.
reason that they would say yes is because
I didn't say, are you certain about the words you just said to me? Like that, I would have been really specific if
right. Well,
that's what I was getting at, you know. But
I
then you
mean,
kind of sidetracked that. I think you knew what the original thing was, and it wasn't a strict
well,
syntactic grammar thing.
do you mean when
So
you say are you certain? Do you mean are you certain in your beliefs about that?
because we're talking about beliefs. Once again, we're talking about.
Well,
I
I'm
was
not.
talking about
I was
they
asking.
have beliefs before the empirical evidence. Well, no, it's just called following the conversation. You know, we're on concepts that were antecedent prior to the empirical investigation of such things. So you knew the context was right. If you study context, or if you're paying attention to context, you would have picked up on it. That's
Sure.
the whole thing we were discussing. So
Well, I
when I
just wanted
asked to
to.
bring up,
Uh,
are you certain about that? Well, we're talking about your beliefs because you're saying, yeah, I accept this belief. We can generalize because, well, you're kind of pragmatic in your theory about things. If you're like, well, we're just doing what works, okay, and this is just the best way that we know what works, and so we just take it and run with it. May be logically fallacious when pressed philosophically on it, but that's just the best we have, right? Is that what you're saying, or
um.
am I totally missing the point?
Well,
I
I
think I'm
think
on point.
I would agree with probably a good bit of what you said
Okay. Oh, all right. You're
because
good.
I would definitely agree that in terms of empiricism, the scientific method would be one of the best ways for us to determine.
But not perfect.
Sure, nothing's
It's
perfect.
good. It's good for certain things, but not all things. See, that's the problem. See, here's the issue I
Well, I
want to
don't see
talk to
that
you
as a
about.
problem. And if I could just put a
Well,
word in real quick,
yeah,
the
sure.
problem, when you say that something is not necessarily true, but it's probabilistically true, you're still saying that this thing is either more probably true than false or highly probable. So I don't see that as an issue that we don't have certainty there.
There's a problem. Well, number one problem, real quick point. I don't see you putting a number on any of these numbers either. So that's
Yeah,
a good point.
well, we could do
Yeah,
that.
and yeah, and here's the problem I have, where you're saying you're leaning on the one aspect, and here's the issue from the transcendental presuppositionalist biblical world. Okay, just take it from a biblical Christian, take it, reject it, but here, just at least reflect upon it. The issue is, I accept empiricism, not empiricism, but empirical methodology. There's a difference between empirical methodology, but that's not the hilt. Empiricism is the hilt. You put the ism on it, that means this is the grand poobah. This is the ultimate way of knowing. You put the ism on it, that's it. Now, I accept not only that, but not empiricism, but empirical methodology, because we can actually account for empirical methodology from a Christian standpoint. It's just not the end all be all. There's an overarching empiricism or overarching epistemology that envelops that. It can actually account for why you can do empirical study. It's what you're doing essentially from a Christian perspective. You're taking a gift from God that we're allowed to investigate His creation, the world He's created us in, as His image bearers, and you're taking that aspect of it, which is only one subset of our existence, and making that the end all be all. It's being idolatrous. You're taking that and saying, well, we just take human autonomy for granted and empiricism stuff or empirical methodology. Oh, let's put that in the forefront. Here's how we know what we know. If that's really your hilt, then be consistent. And I think I've illustrated numerous times on how that falters. It can't be the end all be all, so something else must be. That falters. So from my viewpoint, here's how I'm viewing you. You're taking one aspect of God's creation and gleaning upon that, and this is what man does as an idolatrous creature. He takes one aspect of the nature that God has given him and the creation He's put him in, and he takes what's not God and puts that up to the place of God. He doesn't start with God's revelation, which I have, is God's revelational epistemology. in His Word, and in creation. General revelation, special revelation. That can account for empirical